Okay, finally got everything back together in terms of hosing and routing and clamping and so forth. Um, got the boost controller and the wastegate set up properly. Got the hoses arranged and the plumbing done. Um, if you recall, I talked about tapping not only the compressor housing to have a boost fitting, but also the intake piping in order to have a vacuum source. That vacuum source is going to be caused by Venturi from that fitting that we manufactured. Went ahead and moved the PCV and the catch can. We had it over here. I put it over here just to make it more convenient with routing. You can see, let's see if I can get a good angle. You can see the back of the valve cover, and this hose here goes to the port on the head. So switch these to AN style fittings there and there. AN to a barbed elbow, picks up and goes to the catch can. So PCV's functioning, boost controller's functioning. Went ahead and redid all the vacuum hoses on the manifold, including routing the fuel pressure regulator appropriately. There's a couple hoses I can trim and shorten up and so forth, but I'll take care of that here shortly. The other thing I did was put in a check valve. Let's see if I can get a good angle. Put in a check valve for the evap system so that we're not pressurizing the fuel tank under boost, and got that all situated. So now we can start tuning. All right, got Ari's car running here. Give us a chance to set the fuel pressure. Right now I've got this plugged off. As you can see, plenty of vacuum. I'm looking for 42 PSI at base pressure with no vacuum on it. So looks like we just need to turn down a little and get us right where we want to be. Pressure set. Now we can make some adjustments to our fuel on the map, and then from there we can start playing with some spark timing. All right, now that we got the idle stabilized in Ari's car, if you notice here, he's got an ethanol sensor. Right now we're reading about E79. One thing is, I want to drive this and see if that remains consistent. I'm not going to play with the ethanol percentage at this point. I'm going to tune it for what it's got. But it was E70 when we parked the car. So it's now said it's gained some octane just sitting here. So I don't know if that's voltage related or what have you. It's possible that fixing the fuel pressure regulator and the voltage and so forth, you know, has changed the sensors reading. But either way, I'm going to adjust it. Right now it's a matter of scaling the MAF curve and going from there. Getting Ari's tune set up was easier than I thought now that we fixed a lot of the mechanical issues. First things first, you got to set your injector constants. Luckily, I already had files for 160-pound injectors on E85. So what I ended up doing is verifying what the KPA, and you got to convert KPA to fuel PSI, but basically what that sees at idle, and then translate that across the whole map for this. So once I knew what a base fuel pressure was expecting, I was able to copy that to all the cells in each column and do that on both map and vacuum. And then I already had the constants for short pulse adder and pulse limits and so forth. So that got my injector squared away. You saw I adjusted the fuel pressure regulator to match those values for that particular PSI. And then from there, went ahead and set up some things like idle airflow scalers. Basically, this is for his throttle body that he was utilizing, and then go in and set the airflow. So on most LSJs, you're basically dealing with the MAF frequency only, um, because on the volumetric efficiency table, these cars are so far off the VE table with boost that the second you run into boost, that speed density goes out the window and you're back on the MAF curve anyway. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to dial in the MAF hertz so that the actual air fuel ratio that's being measured is as close as possible to what we're commanding, right? So as far as what we're commanding, I go in and I set the power enrichment tables, and then I go in and I set those up so that things like whatever RPM delay is there, and then whatever EQ ratio that we're going to utilize ends up looking like. So basically, I keep the equivalent ratio dialed into right where I want it. There is a little variation as you go up in RPM, but I actually go back and adjust this once I get everything dialed in so that right when power enrichment starts, I'm coming into the expected equivalent ratio as quickly as possible. So I set the PE, and then we set the mass airflow to give us the expected air fuel ratio for that particular MAF hertz frequency. And then we go over here to our logs, and what we're doing here is we're looking for percent error. If you've seen any of my other tuning videos, I talk about how tuning is really just minimizing percent error from commanded to measured. So in this case, I was starting with the short-term fuel trims just to get those kind of lined out. A couple of these big spots, I went ahead and multiplied by percent or percent half in order to get those close. And then I go to the AEM air fuel ratio gauge he had and dial it in from there. On his particular car, so I wasn't able to get his serial data from his AEM wideband. And so I basically had to stare at a gauge while driving and then correlate that to the basic cells. But once I got it dialed in and smoothed out, it actually did really well. But I basically put a safe but powerful set of spark tables in here. What I ended up doing is going with, I'll show you here, going with about 22 to 24 degrees on E in this area here, and we're ramping up to that. So while boost comes on hard, our spark is very linear when it comes to the amount of spark that's happening. Yes, you won't necessarily see knock or knock retard on E on these cars, but you can still beat the hell out of the crank bearings pretty easily with a lot of timing. That's what happened to my LSJ spraying a bunch of nitrous at the track. Was I was running so much time and he was just beating the bearings up, even though it never knocked, and I had plenty of fuel and air in there. So got this set up. I'm real pleased with it. Right now, we're going to do more street tuning. The car just breaks tires loose like crazy, so it's hard to get a nice consistent pull. I am probably going to back off the wastegate percentage just a little bit in order for the boost ramp to come up and stay flat. Right now, it only has, I think, 10 or 12% duty cycle, and I wish actually the AEM had some way to adjust gain. Basically, where boost would start to fall off, it would have an additive amount of additional wastegate duty cycle that it could give it. But the AEM's not as sophisticated as, say, like the Innovate SCG boost controller, but it does really well. And you know, hell, the car is making pretty damn good power on the streets. It's definitely more than his tires can handle, and it's definitely rattling that car pretty good. So anyway, I just wanted to show setting this up. I'll probably do some more street tuning on it, and then hopefully he can get it onto a dyno, and I can get a good log with air fuel on the dyno. And at that point, I can really tune this thing in. Center a little too hard there. Blew the boost coupler